doing their thing. And if you're not a real daddy, it ain't too late. You can still go out and be one. It's about learning, the concepts behind manhood, and knowing what your role is. Your role as a black man, especially if you're over the age of 35, your role is to be a mentor and a leader. And for some of the kids, we got so many kids out here that ain't got nothing like a father figure anywhere. And I see it a lot on the south side of Chicago. That's why you see all them kids running around with AK-47 shooting each other down, and because this nigga stepped on my shoes or whatever. And a lot of that comes from kids growing up without male role models around to kind of tell them like the long-term consequences of running around trying to murder your friends when you're in the 8th grade. They don't know that. They aren't taught that. They got mothers that are in their early 30s. Some of them have situations where, because they've been in that feminized environment, they're very bitchy and emotional, and they end up sort of taking little things very personal, and next thing you know, somebody settle the beef. Real men know how to sit down and figure it out. Real men understand the big picture. If you look at like gangster movies like Mafia and stuff like that, the Mafia, when they're in their right mind, they don't let emotionality disrupt what the community is trying to build. They won't let their emotionality cause them to, if they see a beef getting out of hand, they'll have a sit down, or the elders will have a sit down and say, okay, let's calm this down, because if we are fighting and killing each other, then everybody loses. Everybody will lose. And so they'll have the sit down, and what will occur is they'll say, okay, let's figure this out so that we can keep this whole thing together. And that's why, I had a lot of people that had mixed feelings about my outspokenness about the recent behavior of Umar Johnson. And I just thought about it, and I follow my instincts. I trust my instincts, because your instincts are connected to your subconscious mind. Your subconscious mind has more processing power than every computer on Earth. In fact, if they added up all the computing power of every computer on the planet, it would not add up to the amount of processing power it takes to simulate the neurons that lie in your subconscious mind. So your brain, you literally have a supercomputer inside your head. So that's why you got your instincts. When you feel something in your gut, you got to trust your gut, because that's your subconscious that's done all the processing, and it's sending a memo to your conscious mind to say you need to go this way. So for me, when I saw this situation go down with Umar Johnson, and I don't know if y'all saw, there was a really crazy video that went mega viral where he's just cussing some brother out, a guy named Seti. I don't know much about him. I sort of, my first instinct was, well, maybe I'm supposed to do what so-called famous people do in those situations. Like so-called famous people, and I guess I'm kind of famous. I mean, most cities I go to, somebody recognizes me. Famous people, what they do is they feel that they have to remain silent when things like this occur. That they're supposed to sit back and just, you don't want to ruffle no feathers, you don't want to make Umar mad, you don't want to make nobody mad, so don't say nothing. But I watched that video and I said, this is absolute bullshit. This is absolute bullshit. And what drove my instincts to feel compelled to say something is, I said, this dude's ego, this one man, and I want to say this one motherfucker, but I'm not going to say that. I'm trying not to cuss today because I don't want to be mean. But this one guy's ego is going to destroy an entire movement. I kept hearing, I can't tell you how many people I heard say, you know what, I used to try to follow black consciousness. I used to want to be consciousness and go into the black liberation, black self-reliance movement. But if this is the way your leaders are acting, I can't be a part of that. And I said, no, we can't do that. We can't do that. We can't have the behavior of one person undermine a movement that will affect millions of black people. And I'm talking about millions. I'm talking about babies that are not yet born. You got to think big. Think big. Thinking big requires you to expand beyond the time and space limitations of where you are right now. See, you're thinking about the here and now. You're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about just us and this generation in 2016, 2017. You can't do that. You don't just think about 2017. Think about 2117, 2217, 2317. When we are 300 years in the past, when we don't even exist anymore, the things that we do today are going to affect where we are as a community 300 years from now. There are advances in astronomy. Do you understand that the Magellan telescope that can see planets that are billions of light years away exists because of work Magellan did 300 years ago? Do you understand how many traditions and customs and norms and corporations and organizations and influential, political systems and economic systems exist today because of what somebody did 300 years ago? Do you understand this? And the thing is that when those people made those advances 300 years ago, when they first got these little things started, they had no idea about how much impact their work in 1685 was going to have in the year 2016. Back then, 2016 probably sounded like a foreign land or some, foreign language or something. It didn't even sound real. Like, how can you even visualize 2016 in 1685? You can't do it, right? It's very difficult. Only a few people could really do that. So my thing is, I have tried my best to practice so I can get over the nonsense, get over the petty stuff. I've always tried to think big. Because thinking big is better than being smart. I know a lot of smart people who have PhDs, for example, who think very small. A lot of the PhDs I know are trained to think very small. They won't focus on solving a big problem. They'll solve a little problem. They won't focus on the big picture. They look at the little picture. And because they're focused on the little picture, they have a little impact. That's what they have, a very tiny impact. They spend their whole lives sitting in an office writing research papers that nobody's ever going to read, and all their genius gets thrown into the garbage. It gets thrown to waste. So my thought from the very beginning is, let's think big. Thinking big means we don't think about ourselves. We think about everybody. But we also go not just broad, we got to go long. That means time and space. So you don't just think about now, you think about the next 200 or 300 years. So when you look at, say me or Umar or anybody, and you compare that in the context of a 300-year journey that's going to affect 1 billion black people or more, you understand that you can't kill all of that because of one person's misguided behavior. So I said to myself, you know what? I think the right thing for me to do is for me to go to bat for the people who don't have the voice that I have. I'll take the hits. I don't know how mad people are. I'm sure I'm getting cussed out and people are calling me a hater and attacking me left and right and all that stuff. But I said, I'm going to tell the truth about this shit because this is some bullshit. This is absolutely insane. This is an undiagnosed mental illness that we're witnessing in real time. I hope everything works out for him. I would love to be helpful to him. But given that he's not one to want to receive any help, then at that point, all you can do is deal with him in a way that says, you're not an adversary. You've done a lot of good for the world. But if you don't change your behavior, then the entire community will come down on you to the point where you will be crushed. You will be crushed, and we will force you to modify your behavior. Because, as much as people might want to look past certain things, we're not a bunch of niggas. We're not a pack of niggas. It bothers me when I see people. I mean, it really freaks me out. Like, black consciousness is something that can be so special, so beautiful, and so amazing. But, somehow, perhaps because we are so lost due to racism and oppression, because we are so confused and we're just looking to grab onto anything, we have some leaders that get thrust into positions of power that don't know what the hell they're talking about. They're crazy. Some of them are crazy. Some of them say stuff where you're like, what? What are you saying? What are you saying to women? I mean, and the thing is, what happens is you get those assimilated Negroes, those black people, those black people that got jobs, who are trying to keep their 9 to 5, trying to make white folks comfortable, who look at that and they say, oh, I don't want to be like that. Because the white man makes more sense to me right now because his organizations may, have capital and what he says is logical and he has, journalists and things that challenge him. See, that's the thing in the white community. You can't have politicians and leaders get too out of pocket because they have systems in place that challenge individuals that lose their way. Right? When Donald Trump, for example, was running for president saying all kinds of crazy stuff, and he did eventually win the White House, though, don't think for a second that the white community said, oh, well, for the sake of white unity, we're going to remain silent about Donald Trump's ridiculous behavior. They don't do that. They don't do that. And so basically, you have to have checks and balances. And so this is a great opportunity for the black community to embrace the idea of checks and balances. So that means that everybody should be challenged. Nobody should be beyond reproach. Not me, not Umar, not anybody. Nobody's beyond reproach. So that means that even with me, y'all see me say something that sounds stupid. Y'all see me cooning. Y'all see me starting to feel myself too much to the point where I'm out here behaving like a nigga. It's some niggerish behavior. then you just check me on that. Check me. Come back and say, hey, but Dr. Boyce, I don't like what you said. Now, we might not agree at the end of the day, but I'm going to listen to you. And I'm going to think about it. I'm going to say, well, you know what? I was kind of acting like a coon just now. I need to slow my roll. And anybody who thinks that they're above, so somebody says, Miss Alexis says Boyce has a personal issue. Yes, I do. It is very personal. When you attack the people I care about, when you undermine the people I care about, I take that very personally. Now, somebody says Umar posted an apology video this morning. Well, I'm glad he did. I think that's a good first step. I think that there has to be a comprehensive apology for behavior that we've had to witness for the past 2 years. I think that, it's one thing if you apologize because you got the wrong reaction versus apologizing because you sincerely want to modify your behavior. I just can say that, I know a lot of people who say, oh yeah, I used to roll with him, but now I can't talk to him no more because he done lost his mind. And he thinks he's bigger than everybody, bigger than the whole movement. I heard 20 people say that. 20 people. So, and I'm just, it's just something that's just not cool. I mean, we're trying to build something here. I ain't got to agree with you, but when I feel that you become an obstructionist, then I will say something. And if he has a problem with it or problem with me, he can come on my platform and we can have a debate, or I can come on his platform and we can debate it and talk it out. I prefer to really just talk it out and smooth it out and work together. That's what I'd rather do. But if you want to just debate as to whether or not that behavior is acceptable, then absolutely. And if you want to debate my behavior, if you want to say, well, Dr. Boyce, what you're doing is wrong, then fine. Point it out. Tell me where I'm messing up. I might really be messing up. I'm not perfect at this. I don't even consider myself to be a leader. I'm not trying to be a leader. I have a platform. I have some intellectual ideas that I can help to share that I think can help solve this problem. Some people are influenced by me, which makes me a de facto leader, and that I take very, very seriously. In fact, I had a leadership coach to help me make sure that I was leading people in the right way. Because I don't want to tell a bunch of people to do all the wrong stuff. Even when I was telling everybody to invest in the stock market, I've been very, very thorough in terms of researching to make sure I was giving good advice and guiding people in the right direction. So it doesn't mean I won't make a mistake, but it does mean that I am going to do my best. And I certainly know that this ain't bigger than me. That's why everything I've done in the last couple of years, I positioned everything to prepare for my possible death. I don't know if I'm going to die. I don't know when I'm going to die, but I know that I can die. And I don't want everything I've done to contribute to die just because I'm not here no more. It has to be bigger than a person. Like Dr. Claude Anderson says in his book, Powernomics. Not Powernomics. I don't get Powernomics. Black Labor, White Wealth. In his book, Black Labor, White Wealth, which y'all know I love this book. In this book, he says, we need, as a community, we need institutions that lead us, not individuals. Not some charismatic Negro who can give a good speech. That's your problem. You get too excited and too hyped up when somebody gives you a speech because you're depressed and you need that motivation. That's cool. It's all right. If you come in here and I motivate you, great. Let me motivate you so we can get fired up and boost our rockets up and go attack. At that point, you have to have action, you have to have structure, and you have to move forward with an agenda. And the agenda must be all-inclusive. It has to include the leading experts. It has to include the whole community, kind of getting behind common causes and building things. And we can have some diversity. We ain't all got to be on the same page. Even when we talk about the conscious community, I was like, well, am I part of the conscious community? I don't know. I think I am. I know that all I know is that I speak up for the conscious community because to me, number one, consciousness, that if you look at the pure term consciousness, just the pure definition, the pure idea of being black and conscious, what does that really mean? Is that really radical? Is that really a radical idea for black people to be conscious? No. That's fucking common sense. What, do you want to be unconscious? That's what most of us are. You're unconscious because racism and white supremacy been beating you upside the head your whole life. You think you're white. So many of us are unconscious. So all of us should be conscious on some level. Now, and then at that point, I remember thinking, well, I don't know, I didn't grow up with dashikis and Kwanzaa and knowing the history of Kemet. I don't know none of that. Michael Imhotep, who runs the African History Network, he educates me all the time on all things about African history that I did not know. But I know this. I know that when I get together, when I reach out to black folks and say, hey, why don't we go build our own school? Or why don't we go build our own Black Hollywood, or hey, why don't we go build a Black Wall Street? I can say this: the conscious community is the first group of people who raises their hand and says, "I'm ready. What you need me to do? Let's do it." The first ones. Now, I'm not talking about the bad apples. I'm not talking about the crazy ones and the crooks and stuff like that, because you got bad apples in every group. But I'm gonna tell you, the so-called conscious brothers and sisters who maybe may have the African garb and the dreads and everything. Those are the ones who line up and say, "I'm ready," because they're not addicted to white supremacy. They're not scared of white folks. They're not feeling somehow, oh well, my God, if I do this, I'm gonna be ostracized by white people. They're not afraid of that because they've already accepted their own greatness. They've already sort of seen what Black exceptionalism can look like, and they're ready to build. So when the future of Black America is built, it's not going to be built by the assimilationists. It's not. Because the assimilationists are like, it's like getting married. Like, Black liberation is something you have to be married to, for rich or for poor, for the good and the bad, through sickness and in health, till death do you part, or whatever, for better, for worse, all of that, right? Black liberation is something you have to be married to. And you can't marry someone if you're still trying to hold on to another relationship. If you're scared to leave your old boyfriend and you're trying to marry a new guy at the same time, then the marriage is not going to work, because you're trying to maintain two situations at once. And when one of them goes bad, you're going to come running to the other one. Back and forth, back and forth. Same thing with men, right? So when you decide you want to be a free Black man or free Black woman, you have to be married to that idea. You have to be married to the idea of solving your problems as a free Black man or a free Black woman. And that means that you're in it. You're just in it. So my so-called conscious friends, if that's what you want to call it, so-called conscious community, they're in it. They're in the struggle. They're already like, hey, let's build. It ain't going to be nothing now. It looks busted up and broken down now. It ain't making no revenue now. But it's going to be ours, and we're going to pass it to our children, and our children will be trained to take it to the next level. That's how empires are built. Empires are not built by borrowing somebody else's power. Being close to the white man's power does not mean you have true power. It means that you are pretty much building empires for white people. You're building these integrated assimilationist empires that will almost always lead to Black people being at the back of the bus. That's what you're doing. You're contributing to white supremacy when you are overcommitted to those institutions, because think about it like this. If you have 1 million Black people who are in the labor force working 40 hours a week, that's 40 million hours a week that you're contributing in labor to the development of white supremacist institutions. 40 million hours a week of labor that you're giving to white folks. Imagine if you were giving that 40 million hours of labor per week to your own community. Imagine how much we could build. Imagine how much we could build. So, because think about it, 40 million hours of labor. Look, even if you value that labor at, say, $20 an hour, what is that? 40 million hours? Yeah, 40 million. Yeah, 40. What's that? $800 million a week. $800 million. So if you value that 40 million hours of labor per week, I don't even know how many Black people are in the labor force. I'm guessing 1 million. Maybe there's more. Maybe there's less. Let's say it's 1 million. And each of those hours is worth $20 an hour. That's how much they pay you. That's not how much it's worth. Remember, your boss usually pays you about a third of what you're actually worth, right? That's how you're getting pimped when you don't learn how to own a business. But you take that 40 million hours of labor, $20 an hour, you're giving $800 million a week to white supremacy. You're making a donation of $800 million, almost $1 billion a week. You're giving away to white folks that could be given back to your own community if you just have the courage to build. If you just have the training to build. If you have been raised in a construct that taught you the importance of building, then you would be like, why the hell am I going to go give $1 billion a week to white folks when I could give $1 billion a week to Black people? That's what you'd be thinking. I talked to a guy one time. He was like Asian, Indian, whatever. I like to learn from all other cultures. Every time I see a culture that's sort of built on self-reliance, I'm like, so how did you grow up? What were you taught as a kid? And this kid had run businesses, and his parents had businesses, and his family owned all these stores. And I said, so at what point, was there ever a point where you were told to just go get a job? And he's like, no, never. Like, that never even crossed our mind. We never even thought about that, right? So the fact of the matter is that racism makes you crazy. Racism makes you stupid. It makes you unconscious. So if you talk about the conscious community, don't you dare ever, in my presence, ever disrespect the entire conscious community because of what one guy said or because of some video, some beef between two strong Black men who decided they wanted to be niggas. I'm not going to be no nigga. I'm not no nigga. Now, sometimes I might, because of the white supremacist brainwashing I might end up inadvertently reducing myself to a nigga, and that's when I need to be checked. But I am not a nigga. I am a man. And I am a king. I am a leader. I'm going to be something great. And you can be great too. All of us need to be great. Period. We need to embrace the idea of Black exceptionalism. We must embrace black exceptionalism. And what does that mean? That means black exceptionalism means that your goal in life is not this bullshit called equality. Your goal in life is not inclusion. Your goal in life is not to close the achievement gap or to close the wealth gap. Your goal in life is not to catch up with white people. Your goal is to win. Your goal is to get ahead. Your goal is to close the gap between where you are and where you could be. What you are and what you can be if you're at your best. If all of us as a community started to teach on a systematic level and embrace the idea of black exceptionalism, that you're not good enough in spite of being black, you're great because you're black. Understand the difference. You're not just good enough despite the fact that you're black. Blackness is not some handicap that you got to overcome. No. Blackness is a gift from God that makes you the greatest group of human beings on this planet. And we have overcome some of the worst nightmares in all of human history. And we have the capacity and the ability to lead this whole damn world. We already do. I told you about the meeting I had with the president of the Jordan brand, where we sat there for 3 hours, man to man. He's a good brother, actually. And we didn't agree on everything. He'd seen articles I've written about it or whatever. But we talked. I said, okay, let's talk, whatever. And one of the things that he mentioned to me was, he said when he sells his shoes, when they sell Jordans, their target demographic is like 17-year-old black males in the hood. Most of these brothers ain't got the money to really buy those shoes or anything like that. They don't have a lot of money. But he said whatever that kid does, everybody else wants to copy him. Everybody else wants to be like him. That's the same thing is true for black women. Look at how much cultural appropriation takes place. Look at how they steal your music. Look at how they steal your best athletes and go make billions of dollars off your best athletes because you're not thinking in terms of business models. There's so much wealth that you're contributing to white supremacy that it don't even make no damn sense. Do this for me. Take 1 second. If you haven't hit the share button or the subscribe button, please share and share. Like if you're on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, anything like that, please share it around real quick. Take 1 second. Also, if you're interested in our financial flashcards, we have financial flashcards that we invented specifically for black people and black children, adults, children. They work alike for both groups. If you're interested in taking a look, we sold thousands of boxes and people love them. You can go to financialflashcards.com. That's financialflashcards.com. Last thing is that if you have not considered joining our class on how to invest in the stock market, you can actually go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. Please take a look at blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's where all our programs are listed. Sydney says, what do you think about what Ice Cube's doing? Well, what she's mentioning is that Ice Cube announced that he wants to create a professional sports league for retired NBA players, which I think is a brilliant idea. I think it can work. It depends on how much money is put into the marketing and the branding and things like that, and how much capacity they have to lose money for a while before they start making money. Because these leagues, these professional sports leagues, it's not a matter of just getting a bunch of good players together. There are a lot of great, athletes who were, All-Americans in college, things like that, and they've tried other leagues. But it's not about the quality of the athlete. It's about the quality of the branding. So what Ice Cube is doing, which I think is very intelligent, is he's realizing that retired athletes, even if they're not in shape or not the best athletes available, they are well branded. The NBA spent many years building up these brands. So you put these guys on the court, like a lot of people will pay money to still see an Allen Iverson play, even if he's not as good as he used to be. Or, I don't know who else I can't think of too many other recently retired players that would be great. But I think it would be cool. Even MJ, maybe Jordan. I bet Jordan could still play. So I think it's a great idea. I think I think Ice Cube is Ice Cube is a smart guy who has shown his brilliance ever since he was with NWA. Even the way he branded himself as a rapper. I think honestly he's not the same guy that he pretends to be in music, but he understood the importance of creating a persona that has an impact even back then. I still remember the first time I heard him, and straight out of Compton, crazy motherfucker named Ice Cube from the gang called Niggas with Attitudes. I still remember hearing Ice Cube for the first time, and that left an impression on me. And so to me, that is nothing but the seminal moment of kind of a continuation of really interesting and pretty intelligent branding moves that he's made. I don't know what kind of person Ice Cube is. I almost met him one time. I literally missed him by a couple of minutes. And maybe one day we'll meet. I'd be curious to have a conversation, see what kind of guy he is. If I ever do, I'll tell you all about it. But I think that this could be yet another great move by him. I think the way he does his movies is very smart. Let's see. Dogman says, what should I do with 10 to 15,000? Well, as I said, we talk about that in our stock market investing class, but generally speaking, you don't want to just sit on your money. I was talking to a young black man today, about 20 years old, and I was explaining to him, he's a big saver. He loves to save his money. And I had to explain to him how saving your money will save you. You save your money so your money can save you, but you invest your money so your money can work for you. Saving is a great way to lose money, because the biggest mistake a person can make when it comes to the stock market, at least historically up until this point, the biggest mistake you can make in the stock market is to not participate in the stock market. And I know that people get nervous about it. The two reasons people get nervous about the stock market is, number one, they don't know which stock to pick, and number two, they don't know when to sell. They're worried about when the market goes up and down. They watch the news, so the news scares them because they see it go down and all that other stuff. But what happens is, when you invest, it really actually comes down to diversifying, making sure that you don't worry about what one stock does because you own a whole bunch of them. And then two, you're not worried about what happens next week because you're not trying to sell next week. You're trying to hold your stock forever. So what we do in our class, in our stock market investing class, is that we teach with a Warren Buffett style. Warren Buffett has a quote that I really like. Warren Buffett is the billionaire who makes more money in 3 days than LeBron James makes in a whole year. He'll make more money in a month than LeBron James will make in his whole entire life. And it's all from investing. Warren Buffett always said that if you're not prepared to own a stock for at least 10 years, then you shouldn't think about owning it for even 10 minutes. And that means that basically, if you hold it for at least a decade, historically, if you hold several stocks for over a decade, there's almost no chance you'll lose money. In fact, they did an experiment with monkeys. They actually had monkeys pick stocks randomly, and the monkeys held the stocks. That's all they did. The monkeys didn't try to sell. They didn't try to pick the right stock. They just randomly picked, and the monkeys actually made more money than some of the biggest experts on Wall Street. Now, why do I know this and other people don't? Well, I know this because I did the research. I got my PhD in finance at Ohio State. I wrote my dissertation on the stock market, and I analyzed tons of data. I read tons of research papers. I know how the market kind of operates. And so basically, in the cost of the class, Melara is, let's see, the price we have now is $89 a month if you want to sign up that way, or you can do an annual membership or a lifetime membership. And the price drops a lot if you get the annual or the lifetime. But actually, if you want 30% off, you can actually go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. Go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. You can get 30% off the monthly membership, both now and forever, for as long as you're a member. So feel free to go check it out. Now, one of the things about racism, as you might have seen in the title, I mentioned how racism drives you crazy. I've been truly fascinated with this idea because I was because when I left my job, when I quit my job, because I had to get away from the crazy white folks who were messing with me when I was teaching at Syracuse, and they were just brutal. I mean, they were just, it was just unfair. I didn't understand it. It's weird. Even though I was in my 30s, you think I would have figured some things out by then, but I didn't understand it because I was a hardworking person. I was intelligent. I was well trained, and I was a good person. But the problem is that being who I was did not fit with the environment that I was in, and that's what many black people run into. We run into a lack of fit in the institutions that we're in, whether it's a young boy in the public school system or if it's a grown woman in corporate America, right? And so ultimately, the lack of fit caused me a lot of pressure and a lot of stress. And I remember feeling like, okay, this can't be healthy. I feel like, sometimes you feel your heart pounding, or you feel your blood pressure going up because you're so mad, or people start drinking a lot, smoking weed and whatever, getting into all kinds of pills or whatever, because they're trying to maintain a balance. I know people on antidepressants because of the racism, because they're that distressed by the racism. And here's the thing, what you got to realize is that life ain't supposed to be that way. Life is not supposed to be that way. You're not supposed to be that stressed out. You're supposed to be happy, and who you are is good enough. You shouldn't go through life feeling like you have to change who you are in order to fit in order to, feed your kids. And so that led me down the journey of discovery. When I did research on the mental health effects of racism, I saw my colleagues in academia many of whom were black, who ended up literally having to go to insane asylums or thinking about suicide because they invested their whole lives in this career and they were suddenly being rejected, and they thought they believed the myth. The myth is that if you're black and you work hard and you're well trained and you're well behaved, that good things are going to happen. You're going to get the same opportunities as white people. And study after study shows this is not the case. Now I'm going to read something to you that will help you kind of understand this. Now somebody asked, when does the stock market class begin? The stock market class begins January 2nd. So in 2 days it begins, and you can sign up at blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. Just look right below the video and you can get 30% off the program tuition. So what I did is we've been doing research on the mental effects of racism in the workplace. For a film that we're working on called Escaping the Corporate Plantation. The film comes out in about a month and a half. This is actually part of the Boyce Watkins Films effort to eventually, we don't just want to make movies. We want to eventually produce at least one movie per month. But then we also want to partner with venues across the nation and create a nationwide distribution chain of black-owned movie theaters. But they won't be major movie theaters like AMC's and all that. Those cost too much money. We don't have that kind of capital. What I realized is I said, hey, with all these venues that are out here, why don't we just rent 20 venues, for the movie release, right? And then and then have it available for wide release nationwide. We do it just like they do in Hollywood. Have box office numbers that we announce and just kind of make it a thing, the red carpet event and all of that. And the reason I want to do it that way is because I feel that black people, by establishing our own systems, we can restore dignity to those who've lost it because white people won't let you in. You see, you have a lot of very talented, very skilled black people who are very hardworking, who feel left out, who feel like, man, I worked my butt off, I did everything right, and they're not letting me in, and I can't get a job, so they're depressed about it. They're feeling, unhappy with life. And my feeling is that the reason you're unhappy with life is because you don't know what life is. You have not yet begun to live. You are unhappy because you're like a person who is so obsessed. You're like a little dude who's so obsessed with being with the girl who don't like him that you don't realize how handsome you are, and the fact that you could date 1,000 other girls that are out here, but you won't even look that way. Same thing with women. You could be the most beautiful girl in the world, but if all you can think about is that one guy who doesn't want you, then you're going to feel like you're not worth anything. And that's what we do with white folks. White folks are the abusive boyfriend, the abusive girlfriend, the abusive spouse. You love them. You're deeply connected to them. They love you, but they beat the hell out of you. And they tell you that if I don't want you, nobody will. And you are afraid to go off on your own and do your own thing. And so what I'm here to say is that, what you got to understand as a black person is that you're beautiful, even when they tell you that you're not. You're beautiful, you're capable. When we're together and ain't a white person around and no white institutions have embraced anything, you can't tell me that what I have built as a black man, what our company has with our black people, you can't tell me that I'm not at the most prestigious institution on earth. You can't tell me that the Black Wealth Bootcamp is not as prestigious as Harvard University. I don't give a fuck. You could offer me, and I'm sorry to cuss, but sometimes I feel it and I'm going to say it, but I would not care. They could call me tomorrow and offer me the chance to be president of Harvard University, and I would tell them, thank you, I am flattered, I appreciate it, but I got more important work to do. I swear to God, I would say that. I swear. Y'all think I'm playing. That's, but here's the thing. It took me time to get to that point. It took me time to really work with my subconscious to let go of this need for this validation from these other people in order to feel like I was successful, and so I'm very excited about, not just the opportunity we have. You see, here's the thing, this oppression, this glut that we have, or whatever it is, this dip that black people have experienced, where we're struggling a little bit. You can look at it as a struggle, or you can look at it as a huge opportunity. There's a huge opportunity because in a lot of spaces in our community, there's a lot of stuff that ain't been built yet. And if you're a builder, then you see like, oh my God, there's so many great things. Ooh, we could create a black version of this. We could create a black that. We could create a black that, right? But you have to be able to think like a builder. But unfortunately, you're not raised to think like a builder. You're kind of raised to think like a borrower. And that's what leads you to kind of feel like the opportunities are clogged up. It's like football, like a guy gets the ball and he runs at the line of scrimmage and he runs right where it's really crowded, and he doesn't realize that if he actually goes around the pack, he might actually get down the field. So one of the things I've always wanted to believe, and this is what I teach young people, is, don't try to just go through the crowded area. Go around. Go to the area where there's not as much competition, where there's not as big of a crowd. And so But the thing about it is that it takes a little bit of courage. Like, kind of going off on my own as a black scholar kind of meant I didn't have anybody that was joining me. Most of my black colleagues were like, why would you do that? You're going to mess your career up. Then, you're going to lose your job at Syracuse, stuff like that. And then also, so it took a lot of courage. It took the willingness to kind of go off by myself. It cost some money too. I had to pay some money. I had to pretty much spend every penny I had for a while. It also took a lot of learning. Like, I had to humble myself. I had to go out and relearn. I had to admit to myself, and this is hard for a lot of people to do. I had to admit to myself that I was not ready. I had to admit to myself that I was not really fully prepared to be what I would call economically mature. I wasn't ready. I didn't know how to start a business. All I knew how to do was write a research paper, and I knew I spent a lot of time in school, but I didn't know how to do the things I needed to know how to do in order to really survive and take care of myself. So I had to relearn. I had to go back, and I sat there and I studied entrepreneurship like my life depended on it. That's why I tell every young black kid, if you got a black child that's going to go to college one day, I don't care if they major in chemistry, art, math, history, engineering, I don't give a fuck. Tell them to also study entrepreneurship. Tell them to learn how to start their own business, especially if they are a black man. Black men can't get no damn jobs. And check this out. I'm going to read the stat to you. Somebody looked this up. Somebody on my team looked this up for me. This is from U.S. News. And by the way, if somebody's offended by my cussing, I swear to you, I try my best not to cuss. But sometimes it just comes out. So anyway, here's what it says. In U.S. News, they said, in the workplace, black college graduates are twice as likely as whites to struggle to find jobs. The jobless rate for blacks has been double that of whites for decades. For decades. Now, what does that mean? That means that for decades, our unemployment rate has been twice as high as white people. That means that if you don't change your behavior, then you're never going to solve the problem. That if you continue to do what people did before you came along, then you're going to end up with the same results. Like, what in the world would make you think that you can try something the same way over and over again and get a different result? Like, you're not going to get a different result. You have to try something different. So as black people, as a community, and as individuals, we have to change the way we're raising our kids. Stop believing in a system that does not believe in you. Stop putting your life, dedicating 40 million hours a week. Remember, we did that earlier. I said if 1 million black people go to work for 40 hours a week, that's 40 million hours a week. You're contributing to a white supremacist system. If every one of those hours is valued at $20 an hour, it's actually worth more like 50. If it's valued at $20 an hour, that's $800 million a week, almost $1 billion a week. You are contributing to white supremacist institutions. Because believe me, when you go work for them, you are giving something to them. Why? Well, because when they pay you $20 an hour, they're making $60 an hour off your labor. So you're giving them that surplus when you do that. Now imagine if all of us were raised to be as dedicated and as committed to the idea of building an empire as black boys are committed to believing they can get to the NBA. Think about how many black boys grow up and give their whole life to the NBA or the NFL. And think about that. Think about how much of a losing battle that is, right? Where literally 99.9% of them are going to fail. 99.9% of the boys who grow up putting their life into sports, 99.9% of them will never make a penny playing sports. So what happens as a result? Well, what happens is a small percentage of them sliver through the tiny hole, and a few of them become multimillionaires. And those are the ones that get paraded on TV, making you believe that the odds are different from what they actually are. So they dedicate their whole lives to this, and a few of them become very wealthy. The rest of them fail because all of them go into a system. They're raised in a way where they are somehow convinced, either by society or by their families or by themselves or by their friends, that this is the best investment of their time on this earth. Now imagine this. Now take entrepreneurship and empire building schools, building media outlets, building businesses, all of that. The odds of success are much, much higher than sports. The odds go to like maybe 50-50, whereas sports is like 999 to 1, right? But in business, it's like more like 50-50. If you get together with your family and 8 of y'all say, we're gonna start this damn business, we're gonna find a way to feed ourselves, we're going to make this work. And everybody took all their 40 hours a week and put it all into the family business. Your odds are extraordinarily high that you're going to have some kind of success, that you're going to make some kind of money. Most people I know who dedicate their lives to entrepreneurship do make money as entrepreneurs. They do eventually make money as entrepreneurs. So imagine if we dedicated as much energy as a collective to the idea of building as we put into the idea of trying to become professional athletes. If we put that same energy into it, then what's going to occur is this. Some people ain't gonna make it. Some people gonna fail. They're gonna have to go back to the plantation or whatever. They won't make it, right? But a lot of people will make it. A lot of people will develop decent businesses where they can feed themselves, feed their kids. They're gonna be fine, and they're gonna start believing in themselves because they're gonna find, oh my God, wait a minute, I can't survive without the white man. Oh my God, I thought white people were God. But here's the thing. Here's the beautiful part. You're gonna have that small percentage that are going to become multi-billionaires. Multi-billionaires, just like in sports, how you have that 0.1% that sliver through the cracks and they get to become LeBron and Shaquille O'Neal and all that and Jordan. Well, you're going to have a bigger sliver where you're going to have a lot of black people who start family businesses that are going to become multi-billion-dollar industries. Now, here's the thing. So let's go back to those people, those individuals who didn't make it, the ones who tried but it failed and didn't work out. Those people won't have to go work for white people because the billionaires who succeed will offer them jobs. You see, you don't really need everybody to become an extraordinary entrepreneur and to build this major business. You just need a few people to do it. And the most ambitious of us will take care of those of us who are struggling the most. So that's what you do. That's what has to occur is that we need a national agenda as black people. The national agenda must consist of the idea of saying this very clearly to the rest of the world. Thank you for what you've done thank you for what you offered us. We respect what you have built, but we're going to be over here building something for ourselves. Leave us alone while we focus on building for ourselves. We're going to do two things. We're going to educate our own children because y'all ain't doing it right. Y'all messing our kids up, but it ain't your fault because we know how crazy y'all are. It's our fault because we were dumb enough to believe that y'all were actually going to raise empowered black children, which we know is not in your capabilities. It's not in your skill set. It's not in your incentive, and it's not even your job, right? So we're going to educate our own children and we're going to build our own industries. So when it comes to Hollywood, no, we're not going to spend our time trying to get into white Hollywood. We're going to take our best actors and actresses and filmmakers, and we're going to contribute to building a black Hollywood. We're not going to go and try to get into all your universities. We appreciate some of us might, maybe they'll go learn a few things from you. But then at the end of the day, we're also going to be developing universities of our own. We're going to develop school systems of our own. We're going to develop corporations of our own. We're going to develop foundations of our own. And that's the mindset that has to occur. Because I can tell you this. If there was a rule, think about segregation. Think about back when you couldn't go sit next to white people and give them all your money all day because that was something apparently that made us happy, right? In segregation, there were far more black businesses than there are today. There were, I forgot how many hundreds of or dozens of insurance companies, black insurance companies. There was a lot more industry in the black community in segregation than there is during integration. And that's because when you integrated, you killed your own institutions because you wanted to get into what the white folks had going on. And so what happens is, this is what I've observed. Most of the greatest builders, most of the people who build the best stuff, they usually build out of necessity. Because necessity is the mother of invention. When your back is against the wall and you got to feed your babies and you can't get a job, then you figure something out. You figure it out. So the people who will build the black nation, this is what I predict. The people who will build the future of the black community will not be the assimilated integrationist affirmative action babies or the entertainers who are so loved by white people that they'll degrade themselves in front of white people in order to make $1. Those individuals are weak. They are made, they have low skill. They have almost no skill when it comes to building and developing. Most of the people I know who have law degrees and PhDs and MDs, they're not thinking about starting anything because most of them can go get jobs with white people. Right. And so when they're thinking like, OK, what do I do next? I got 40 hours a week of labor. I can invest in something. Do I invest my human capital in building something new, or do I invest my human capital in the short, easy route, which is to go get a job? Most of them will go get a job because they got a good chance of getting that job. So they'll sit there and be miserable on that job because it keeps them safe and comfortable. But when you got no options, like me, I'm going to tell you the truth. I became more of an entrepreneur when my back was against the wall. When I knew, I mean, when I picked that fight with Syracuse University, oh my God, you want to talk about being nervous. When I picked that fight with Syracuse University, I was warned. People called me and were like, you can't do this. Like, if you threaten to sue them, you threaten to sue them in the media, like, you're not just going to not have your job at Syracuse. You're going to get blackballed by every university in America. And I applied to a couple of schools, including HBCUs. And basically, when I would go to the interviews, everything would be great. They would be so excited because I have really good credentials. I worked under the very best people. I was top of my class. I was, I was into my stuff. I knew my stuff. I went to a great school. It's very hard to get a PhD in finance. And they would say, "Oh my God, you what we've been looking for our whole lives. We need black faculty. Blah 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 blah." And then what would happen is about 3 days later, they would Google me. They would go to Google and look me up. And then next thing you know, they would call me and say, we decided to go in a different direction, or we decided that it wasn't a good fit, right? And basically what was happening there, I mean, it's very basic. What was happening there is that they were literally looking at this and saying, okay, this is a dangerous black man. We don't want this person. We don't want to hire this person. So I was stuck. I had nowhere to go. So that's what led me to say, I was scared. I'll be honest and tell you, I was mortified. I thought that I had wasted my life. Imagine everything you've worked for your whole life just sort of burning down right before your eyes. And I started to be tempted to believe that maybe being outspoken. I started listening to some of my friends who maybe said to me that, being outspoken is going to mess up your career. If you would have had a great career if you were not such a big mouth or picking fights that you can't win. And I thought about it and I said, well, I mean, I guess I could feel bad about it and feel sorry for myself, but that's not going to help me win this battle. So the least I can do is fight like hell until the death. And that's what I chose to do. I said, I'm going to fight like hell. I practiced being confident and reminding every day I woke up a little nervous and I would say, no, Boyce, you can do this. You're brilliant. If you're truly as smart as you think you are, if you're truly as smart as your PhD makes you think you are, then this challenge is what will make you great. This is the challenge that's going to let you prove to yourself that you are as smart as you think you are, because you really ain't that damn smart, Boyce. You got your PhD, but you're book smart. You're a pussy right now. If you really want to be strong, if you really want to prove that you're smart, then you're going to solve this problem. Because there are other people out here who figured out how to make $1 million. If you're as smart as they are, then why can't you do it too? So it required me to shift my thinking and commit myself and devote myself to a new approach to everything. And lo and behold, I'll be damned if I didn't win, if I didn't find out things about myself that I didn't even know was there. So what I'm saying to you is that whatever reality you want to have in your life, whatever reality you want to come into fruition, whatever way you want to make your money. They got that song, Making Money the Flyway. Whatever you consider to be the flyway of making money, whatever you consider to be the life that you want to have, I challenge you to understand to two things. One, to dare to envision that, to dare to believe that that's possible for you. And then number two, to really reconsider what black excellence really means. What it really means to be black and exceptional at what you do. See, most of us don't know what black excellence and black exceptionalism really looks like. You don't know what it's like to really compete at the highest levels and dedicate every ounce, every fiber of your soul, every molecule, every strand of DNA in your body to something that you're trying to do. You don't know what that's like. The reason you don't know is because you are surrounded by motherfuckers who want to sit around and chill, who look at you and say, oh, you too serious. Why are you working so much? College students go to college and they see you in the library at 2 o'clock in the morning on a Saturday. They're like, why are you so serious? You should be at the party. They having a step show, girl. See, you're surrounded by that. You're surrounded by a mindset that is built on an intense lack of seriousness, which causes other people to not take you seriously. They don't take you seriously as black people because you don't take yourself seriously, because you don't want to be serious. People look at me. I saw some dude wrote an article where it kind of bothered me. He was talking about the conscious community and making fun of the conscious community. He said, yeah, and then there's this guy, Boyce Watkins, who just needs to take a spa day. And I was like, what the fuck does that mean, take a spa day? Like, what is he saying? I don't even understand what he's talking about. And somebody said, well, that means he's saying you need to relax. You work so hard. I'm like, why is that a crime? What's wrong with working hard? I mean, don't they understand that anybody who's ever built an empire in the history of this world had to bust their ass to go get it? Some of them died for what they wanted. Do you understand what that looks like? Do you even understand what it means to be deeply committed to the core of your being, to accomplishing something to the point where you will do whatever it takes? There is no such thing as working too hard. Have you ever been around? Go read the Hymn of the Tiger Mom. Read the Hymn of the Tiger Mom, where this Asian mother talks about what she does with her children to make sure that they are among the best in the world when it comes to academics, when they're the best in the world when it comes to playing that damn violin, when you work as hard as you can to be the best that you can be. You understand it already in a certain context. We know this when it comes to sports. That's that little boy who's got the basketball and he's dribbling it between his legs on his way to school. When he's walking to church, he's on the court for 10 hours a day, even when it's snowing. That's the excellence that you've seen in your community. That's what you're accustomed to. You're used to seeing that level of excellence on the basketball court, on the football field, but you don't see it in the classroom. We don't see it when it comes to entrepreneurship. We don't see it when it comes to fighting for whatever the hell we want as black people. We don't see that. We don't see that. The smart guy is considered to be the party pooper, right? Oh, come on, nigga, sit down and hit this weed with us, nigga. Why are you working so? Why are you? You know what? I told my friends in college. I mean, don't get me wrong. I had fun like everybody else, but I was like, well, the reason I don't spend most of my time chilling is because I'm a black man, and there are people out here in this world that want me dead, or they want me on drugs, or they want me in prison, or they want me unemployed. They don't want me to be able to provide for my family, and they want to keep me as a little boy. So I know I am at war. I'm at war. And being at war means I need to be on point. You can't be in the middle of the battlefield chilling. You will get your brains blown out. You can't compete for a Super Bowl when you chilling in the middle of the damn game. You will get destroyed by the other team. If you want to be the best in the world at anything, you can't have the majority of your people sitting around chilling and being wasteful and throwing their money away and wasting time, not wanting to open a damn book, not wanting to come together, not wanting to work hard, not wanting to have serious conversations, where more Negroes will show up at a damn R. Kelly concert than to a PTA meeting. What the fuck is wrong with you? I'll tell you what's wrong with you. White people got you lazy. They got you thinking that you're subordinated, that you are second-class citizens, and that if you just behave, that they're eventually going to come along and take care of you. The whole time, because you don't take yourself seriously, nobody in the world takes you seriously either. And where did I learn this? I did not learn black exceptionalism from the public school. I did not learn it from that white lady from the suburbs who taught me in elementary school. She wanted to put me on Ritalin. I did not learn it at the University of Kentucky. I learned my exceptionalism from trying to get my PhD in finance, where I was imagine being in school till you're 31 years old and studying 8 to 10 hours a day and still failing tests. I was sitting in classes next to Russian kids who had memorized the whole damn mathematics book, where I'm going through, I'm learning the equations. They have memorized the book. They could tell you on page 143, paragraph 2, it says blah, blah, blah. I had never seen that level of dedication, and it came from the fact that my Russian classmate had been in situations where if he didn't study, he wasn't going to eat, right? He was hungry as hell. So he had no margin for error. No, he wasn't going to be sitting, chilling with his boys, hitting the weed and wasting time. He didn't do that. He was in the math book. He was on top of it. And so my belief is that we lost that. We've lost black excellence. We're not taught black excellence. That's why we get beat. That's why we lose. Let me say this to my Instagram friends. If you want to sign up for our programs, go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. And I got to say bye to my Instagram friends because Instagram's about to shut me down. But I'm going to remain on Facebook, and I'll also be on Twitter as well. So take care, guys. And it was real talking to you. All right. So anyway, with that said, I'm not saying goodbye to everybody. I was saying goodbye to my friends on Instagram because this thing, I guess this program tells you when they're about to shut everybody out. So anyway, let me jump in here. If you want a free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, feel free to go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. If you think that I am, overly serious, it's because I am. I kind of feel like it doesn't mean I'm serious all the time, though. I think that you can have room to have as much fun as you want. You can have room to laugh. You can enjoy life. But I'll tell you what, life is more enjoyable when you're on top. Life is more enjoyable when you're winning. Life is more enjoyable when you control your own destiny. So why would you want to make yourselves vulnerable by not doing what you need to do, to put yourself in the position that you want to be in? I mean, why wouldn't you do that? And that's the question I have. Someone says, okay, so Tiffany says, I lost you on Instagram, but back on Facebook. Thank you, Tiffany. It's good to see you, sister. Now, I'm going to open up this feed on Twitter real quick. So do me a favor. While I do this, please hit the share button or the subscribe button. And also, if you haven't downloaded your free e-copy of my book, It Takes a Village to Raise the Bar, please go to drboycewatkins.net. That's drboycewatkins.net. So I'm going to do this while y'all do that. So give me 1 second, guys. Hold on. Make sure you invite your friends. All right, let me see here. I hope my phone doesn't overheat. My phone tends to act funny. Okay. So it says stay frosty without being overly serious. Absolutely. I don't think you have to be entirely serious all the time, but I think you got to understand the seriousness of the endeavor that lies in front of you. And a lot of us just don't understand that. I think that it's wrong when we have situations where black people are made fun of for being serious, or you're made fun of because you want to actually learn instead of using your cell phone to look at booty pics on Instagram, or to get into stupid Instagram, Twitter beefs with people. I want to say what's happening to my Twitter friends. I want you guys to know I've been on with my Facebook posse for a little bit. What's going on, Real Life TBP? What's going on, Hummingbird? Hello, Colorado. Teach my brother. Oh, okay, top Colorado. We did an event in Colorado not too long ago. Archange, how you doing? What's going on? What's going on, homie? How you doing? Sharkfin says we love you. I love you too. Latrice says hello from ATL. What's going on, everybody? How you doing? Good to see you. Everything's coming up so fast. I can't see everything. I see blessings from Louisville. Go Cards. Go Cards. It looks like our basketball team's actually pretty good this year, and the football team, had a good season. I was happy about that. In case y'all don't know, I'm actually I graduated from Ohio State, so I am a Buckeye. I cheer for the Buckeyes. I'm hoping we can win another national championship. All right, so as we get started, don't forget our stock market our class on how to invest in the stock market starts in 2 days. You can sign up at blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's where all of our programs are listed. You go there, you can get a 30% discount. Also, if you're interested in our financial flashcards for children, go to financialflashcards.com. That's financialflashcards.com. They're not just for children, though. Actually, adults love the flashcards as well. If you're already in the stock market class, just know I keep adding content in there every day. So I don't want you just studying on the days that we have class. I want you studying all the time because there's tons of videos in there already. There's going to be tons more. I'm going to add all kinds of other stuff. I have a suggested reading list of financial books that I think you should read if you really want to understand things. And what I do well, here's what I do that I think that makes this class unique. I really enjoy the idea of explaining complex concepts in a way where anybody can understand them, right? And that's kind of something that I gained from the fact that I was a college professor. I taught finance for 23 years. I taught my first college class when I was 22 years old at the University of Kentucky. And so when you look at something like that, every year, each time I see it, each time I teach it, I see it in a different way. I see something new. And so as a result, what happens is you gain an ability to relate this to that and that to this. And I like relating financial concepts to things that you've understood your whole life. There are so many things in investing that I can actually explain to you by actually using love as an analogy, for example. You don't have to go to school to know about love. You don't have to go to school to know about relationships. So ultimately, it's really fun to explain it that way. And that's kind of what this class does. I guarantee you're going to love it. If you don't, there's a money back guarantee, but we don't actually have to even deal with that because everybody loves the class. All right. So what we were talking about earlier was, this whole idea of racism and how racism affects us and the mental illness that it can cause in all of us, myself included, you included. We talked a little bit about Umar Johnson. I have no problem. I'm not skirting that issue. I'm not trying to pick a weird situation with Umar. As y'all know, if you follow me, you know that Umar doesn't like me very much, and that's unfortunate because I always liked him. I gave money to his school. I shared his videos. They got millions of views on my page. I've always invited him to come on our platform. If he had said, I want to use your YouTube channel whenever I want to post videos, I would have told him yes. I would have been very happy to let Umar come into my YouTube channel because I think Umar was one of the best orators in the country. But the reason that I did not walk away from addressing the Umar Johnson issue, because many of y'all saw the video that he did recently, which I thought was just ridiculous. The reason I didn't walk away from addressing it is because I felt that people like me can't remain silent when you have one person's misguided behavior putting a stain on a movement that's affecting millions of people. I can't do that. I don't know. Somebody says I should be the bigger guy, and I agree with you. I do want to be the bigger guy. I don't know if being the bigger guy means being quiet about it or if it means speaking up about it. My loyalty lies to the people who support us. I am a servant of you. That's what I am. I serve you. And so what happens is when I see somebody do anything, whether it's a white person, some black person on TV or whatever, who does something that I think will be ultimately harmful to the people I care about, I gotta say something. And I feel like two grown black men over the age of 40 beefing like gangster rappers, calling each other nigga and pussy and everything else, so supposed to be leaders now, acting like little kids. That's just a bad look for everybody. That is a horrible look for everybody. I've heard black people say, well, that's why I don't hang with them conscious niggas because look at how they act. Well, that's offensive to me because you can't define the whole conscious community by what one or two people do. You can't do that. But then also those who claim themselves to be leaders of the so-called conscious community, which to me, consciousness is not radical. Consciousness should be common sense. They need to call it the common sense community or the black self-reliance movement. That's the way I see it. So anybody who claims to be a leader of that community has to carry themselves in a certain way. Here's the other thing, we can't have 40-year-old men imitating 20-year-old men. We're supposed to mentor them. They're supposed to be imitating us. We're supposed to mature through time. The young guys are supposed to look at us and want to grow because they've listened to us. We're supposed to be the ones who say, "No, man, you ain't got to do all that. Here's a better way for you to carry yourself as a man." Instead, we got it backwards now. And I'm gonna tell you why. We have it backwards. We have it backwards because nigger-like behavior is rewarded in a white supremacist society. The niggas are the ones who get to be famous. The more of a nigger you act like, the more white people will put you on TV so they can say, "See how those niggas act?" That's why guys like Young Thug and Rich Homie Quan and just ignorant ass people are the first ones to get the stage. They don't put intelligent black men on TV because they don't believe black men are intelligent. They put the niggas on TV. So because you somehow mistake black success to mean white acceptance and approval and elevation, you will imitate the nigga because the nigga's the one who's on TV. The nigga's the one who gets to be famous. The niggas are the ones who get all the money because white folks pay them. They're like, "Oh, go on stage and call yourself a nigga some more and act like more of a coon and we're going to pay you. We love you, Young Thug," right? That's what they do. So you see, it's so unfortunate. And this is almost like the economic gravity, the socioeconomic gravity of white supremacy. Gravity in the sense like the way the gravity of a planet sucks you in. I see it as a type of gravity. I'm fascinated with space and gravity and how it bends space, right? So gravity, the socioeconomic gravity of white supremacist structural frameworks that elevate niggerosity, that gravity causes us to make it difficult for us to change the culture because what happens is that the nigger-like behavior, though, the people who engage in nigger-like behavior are not imitating the scholars. They're not trying to be like the scholars. The scholars are trying to be like the niggas. The young men are not imitating the older men trying to be like the elders. The elders are imitating the teenagers. That's because the teenagers and the kids who are running on TV acting like fools are the ones that white folks are putting on television. I mean, who's been on TV more? Who's got more fame? Me or Bobby Shmurda? Right? Who's gonna get more celebration in mainstream media? I don't know. Dr. Claude Anderson or Young Thug? But who deserves that platform more between Dr. Claude Anderson and Young Thug? Who cares more about your people between Dr. Claude Anderson and Young Thug? Who's more learned between Dr. Claude Anderson and Young Thug? Who's wiser between Dr. Claude Anderson and Young Thug? So why in the fuck is it that we live in a world that is so backwards and so upside down that media will put Young Thug on TV before they put Dr. Claude Anderson on TV? He could make that call. His publicist could call CNN and say, I've got something to say that's really going to help solve critical problems in the black community and in the world. Bring me on CNN. They will ignore him. But Rich Homie Quan's publicist gets on the phone. Oh, they'll have him on there in a minute. So what happens is, because now this is, no, mind you, this is not, this is a rhetorical question, by the way. These are rhetorical questions because we know why Rich Homie Quan and Young Thug will be put on television before Dr. Claude Anderson. We know why. It's because of white supremacy. In white supremacist institutions, a black man who engages in nigger-like behavior is considered an ally to white supremacy because they keep you dumb, they keep you high, they keep you distracted, they keep you ignorant. That's what they do. That makes it's easier to oppress somebody if they're high and drunk and don't want to pick up a book, right? And they throw their money away. And you throw your money away, you're giving your money to white folks. So that makes you easy to oppress in that situation. Dr. Claude Anderson can't be oppressed, right? A strong, intelligent black man can't be oppressed. Lil Wayne is easily oppressed. Right? Lil Wayne will run around and will say things that are in complete contradiction to everything that the black liberation struggle stands for. Right? So white folks give him a platform to do that because he is promoting a white supremacist agenda. But again, most systems don't reward you for doing things that defy the underlying principles of that system. Capitalism, for example, does not reward you for caring about human beings because the capitalist systems are not designed to do that. Capitalist systems reward you for going out and making money by any means necessary, right? So if you go into a capitalist system and you don't behave as a capitalist, then the system will kick you out. If you go into a white supremacist system and you don't commit yourself to white supremacy, then the white supremacist system will kick you out. The only way you can survive in a white supremacist system and not be committed to white supremacy is if you are so undercover with your blackness, you hide your black liberation so well that the system doesn't catch you. But the minute they catch you acting too black, the minute they catch you doing things for oppressed people, the system will put you out. So really, while we are trained to believe that a person deserves praise and acknowledgement for being elevated in a capitalist system or in a white supremacist system, that actually in some ways might even be a source of shame. That might actually, if you are a thoughtful person, you become more skeptical of the corporate Negro who climbed the corporate ladder than you are quick to congratulate him because he got money now, right? Or you're more quick to be, you're more likely to be skeptical of the black person on TV than you are to say, oh, Lordy B, I'm so happy because I'm just so happy to see somebody who looks like me on TV. I don't give a fuck because I know that the smartest black people are not the ones that they're going to put on TV. They're just not. It's just a fact. I was happy. I was happy for Barack Obama when he became president, but there was another half of me that said, well, part of the way he became president was he had to disavow black people because most of the people that voted for him were people who don't like black folks that much in the first place. So in order to get into the White House, he had to kind of please these people, which means he had to kind of commit himself to a little bit of a white supremacist agenda. This does not mean Obama himself is a white supremacist. It doesn't mean that he doesn't like black people. I don't know what he feels in his heart. But I know that what he can and cannot do. Right? So sometimes the thing that you think elevates you and liberates you actually further enslaves you. And the reason you go after that thing is because you're so unclear about who you are and what makes you worthy that you're going to go after what other people tell you is worthy. So you got to think. That's why consciousness, people talk about black consciousness as if it's some sort of really radical idea, but it's not. No, it's common sense. It should be required learning for every black person in America because a conscious person is going to be a critical thinker. A lot of people in the so-called conscious community ain't really conscious. That's why you got a few bad apples. You got the swindlers. You got the people that run around calling each other nigga all the time, or where their egos override their commitment to the community, whatever. Right? Those are people that still have some growing to do. But a truly conscious person, in my opinion, is somebody who has gained enough critical thinking skill that they can know how to question everything and understand everything. And that's something that I see in some of us, and some of us don't yet have it. I'm still working on my consciousness every single day. I'm working on that. So anyway, somebody says, I don't think being woke makes you less oppressed. Oppression is systematic. I think oppression can be systematic, but that don't mean you have to be in that system. That's another point, actually, system. One thing black people, if you want to overcome the oppression of systems right off the bat, then what you should probably do is, if I was the king of black people for a week and I could make a law that every black person had to follow, I would not train black children to fit into a system, into a pre-existing system. I would train black children to develop systems. Systems are developed. Every system that you see, every corporation you see, started with somebody drawing up a diagram of a system, of an institution, and saying the president's here, the vice president of this is here, vice president of that is there, vice president. Then we got manager, and then it goes down the hierarchy. They develop systems themselves. Black people don't develop systems. We tend to, because we don't understand systems and we don't know how to build systems, we tend to just try to get in where we fit in. And that's where we fail, because when we try to get in where we fit in, you're trying to break into somebody else's system, and you somehow have been led to believe they're going to treat you the same. And that's not true. They're not going to treat you the same as if you're white, because you ain't white. If you go read, everybody who hasn't read it, y'all have heard me talk about this book all day. If you go to read Black Labor, White Wealth, and Dr. Claude Anderson, he needs to write me a check because I promote his book so much. I don't care. I'm playing. I love Dr. Anderson. He never has to write me a check for anything. But if you read Black Labor, White Wealth, you can see the history. That reading this book, what's fascinating about it to me is that it goes back 500 years and helps you understand how deeply rooted black hatred actually is. How they spent 500 years training themselves and each other to deeply hate your ass. It really helped answer a question to me that used to confuse me. I never understood. I would look at these old pictures from back in the day, from you ever see those old pictures from the 1950s where maybe you'd have some little kid who's integrating a public school, and it'd be like a 6-year-old girl, and there'd be white people surrounding the little girl, throwing apples at her head and spitting on her and I hate you, get out of here, you nigger. I never understood that, because I thought, how can somebody hate you that much and they don't even know you? That's weird. I've never hated anybody that much. Even people I don't like, I don't hate them that much, right? But there's a culture there. There's a history there. This is hundreds of years of training that has gone into creating that very moment. So when I think about it like that, it really kind of let me know, I need to kind of give up on this whole assimilation thing. I was actually looking up something. I'm going to read some of this to you. This is actually research we were doing for a film we're working on called Escaping the Corporate Plantation. We'll probably screen the film at the All Black National Convention. It's going to be held at Simmons College in Kentucky in September 29th to October 1st. So I hope you'll mark it on your calendar. The All Black National Convention was amazing. It's awesome. You're going to love it. So I hope you'll fly to Louisville, Kentucky. We're going to be at Simmons College, and it's the best school to hold the convention because that school was actually built by former slaves who didn't feel sorry for themselves. They just built their own school for their own people. Let me see here. Let me find this here. Hold on. Okay, here we go. Check this out. This is real deep. This is actually related to how racism in the workplace can drive you crazy. Recent research. This is in racism.org. Recent research on 726 African American men and women showed that the amount of decision latitude, meaning freedom they had on the job, freedom they were allowed on their job, was linked to the risk of hypertension. African American men who were given more control over decisions on their jobs had a 50% less prevalence of hypertension. However, many of our respondents discussed being excluded from decision making. As the reader will see, an African American's attempt to compensate for this lack of control can lead to specific health problems. So what are they saying here in this study? They're saying that when you go to work and you're trying to work in a white man's environment, work in somebody else's house, somebody else's institution that wasn't built for you, that the way that your health, your physical health, your risk of hypertension is directly linked to the amount of freedom that you have, the amount of power that you have, the amount of decision-making ability that you have. That basically, especially for men, if you're stripped of your power and you've been emasculated that way, they cut your balls off, that you are more likely to die of hypertension because a lack of control is heavily correlated with stress and depression. There was actually a study where they actually had some mice, and they measured the depression levels in the mice by looking at the amount of serotonin in their brains. And so they looked at they had one group of mice where they would just shock them. They shocked them over and over again. And they had no way of getting away from the shocks. The shocks would come randomly, they would hurt, and they didn't know what they were going to do. And the mice would get depressed because they would be like, man, I'm getting shocked and this hurts, and I'm going through this agony and this horrible dysfunction, but there's nothing I can do about it. Then they had the other group of mice where they were being shocked too, but they were able to stop the shocks. They had more decision-making ability. They could actually pull a lever and shut down the shocks, right? So somebody says, what are you talking about, boys? I'm explaining to you. I'm talking about racism in the workplace, how it affects you. So here's what happened. Did you know that the mice who had control, who were able to stop the shocks, had less depression than the mice who felt that they had no control over their environment? Now, how does this relate to human beings? Well, a human brain, the reason they do studies with mice is because mice are very similar to humans in terms of the DNA, in terms of how the brains work, a lot of that. So basically with humans, when you are in an environment where you are suffering and you are being put through tremendous pain, and you have no control on ways to stop this pain, you have no latitude, very little decision-making ability, very little power, you feel powerless to fight against your oppression, you're more likely to be depressed. You're also more likely to have health effects that come from that. So, but if you have a situation where you feel that you are in control, where you actually are empowered, then your stress levels drop, your likelihood of depression drops tremendously. So what happens for many black people when they go into predominantly white organizations is they might have you there, but you're really there as a lawn jockey. You're there as a token. You're there to be seen and not heard. You're not really given real decision-making power. I still remember this when I was at Syracuse University. I figured out very quickly. I said, they want me here for my black skin, but they don't really want my black voice. They don't really want my black perspective. They don't want me to be integrated into the decision-making structure of this university. They just want me to be here so they can say they got some niggas on board, right? So at the end of the day, what I found was that when I left that environment, when I left that system and created spaces and systems of my own where I had more latitude, even if I wasn't making the same amount of money, I was actually much, much happier. I don't really get depressed. I don't really get sad. If there's something I don't like, I fix it. If there's somebody I don't enjoy working with, I quit working with them. I had people that I work with this year that I said, my God, this person's really pulling my spirit down. He's getting on my damn nerves. So I cut him off. I just cut him off. I said, I'm not working with you no more. Right? So at the end of the day, what I'm saying is that if you understand how all this game works, understand these systems and where to position yourself, you're in a better you have a better opportunity to have some latitude and power to change your situation. The ability to change your situation is everything. It's like the difference between being free to date who you want versus being stuck in a marriage with somebody who hates your guts and is trying to kill you. That's a very stressful situation. If anybody knows, if you've ever been in a bad relationship where you feel stuck with somebody that you can't stand, then that's kind of what it's like to be black when you're married to a job that you hate and where the people hate you. Just my 2 cents. All right. So anyway, long story short, we're going to actually put that in a film very soon. It's called Escaping the Corporate Plantation. In case y'all don't know, our big plan is we want to actually see if we can develop a nationwide distribution system of black movie theaters so that we're able to have film releases and put movies all over the country. That'll probably take about 2 to 3 years to get that done. We're raising the money right now. We're not asking for donations. We don't do donations. We actually ask people if they believe in the cause to take a course from us, buy a book from us, maybe get some financial flashcards from your kids. Because actually, one of the things that I believe, one of the things that I talk about with cooperative economics is that you can't really have freeloaders. You know, charity should always be trumped by trade. You should have trade as opposed to charity. Trade means that if you give me something, I give you something. I give you some knowledge, you help us pay some bills, or maybe you give us some. If you make a donation, then we give you a book. We give you some things that we give you barter, as the sister says, barter, as opposed to charity, which is give me your money, give me your money, give me your money, and you get nothing in return except the knowledge to know that Boyce Watkins is better off because you just gave your money away. I'm not a fan of that. I think that a lot of black churches have to sort of reconsider their models. I think black churches are natural economic incubators. If I could actually go around, I would actually like to meet with a lot of church organizations. There is a pastor in Kentucky that I'm working with on this extensively, but people don't understand the potential that there is within churches to develop natural economic development incubators within the church in terms of, how the money's given, how the money's processed, things like that. Money, a lot of us as black people, we think that helping other black people means charity. Like even a lot of NBA players go broke because a lot of them go broke not because they were stupid and selfish. They go broke because they were too generous. So they have relatives that are struggling, that are hustling or having a hard time. So they'll just be throwing it up, just throwing money at them. Right? Oh, you need money for, Christmas is coming. Here's $2,000 for Christmas. You need a car. Here's money for your car. Right? And you're giving something away, but you're not getting anything in return. Whereas what I do with my children, what I do with my family members is we trade, we barter. I give them economic opportunities. They help me get labor. They help me get connections, or we make trades. We build businesses together. We do things like that so that you're receiving what you need, but you're also contributing to the development of our family empire. And I believe every family on here, every black family should have a family business and treat that family business like that's going to be your family empire. Most multi-billion-dollar empires started off as tiny little businesses that were making less than $100 a week. Most multi-billion-dollar companies started off as tiny businesses that were only making $100 a week. Don't forget that. So don't write off what you're doing just because it's small. I want to remind everybody that in 2 days our stock market class begins. If you're interested in signing up, you can actually sign up at blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. The link is right below the video. You can get 30% off the program if you sign up that way. And also, if you're looking to check out the financial flashcards for children and adults, you can go to financialflashcards.com. That's financialflashcards.com. Now, somebody says, I just got your DVD, The Secrets of Black Financial Intelligence. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoy it. That film, I wanted to make that film really as therapy because it was a tribute to my late grandmother, who was the first person to introduce me to compound interest and how money grows. And she didn't know a lot about money. My grandmother didn't invest in the stock market, but she did know how to keep money and hold on to money. And what she did not know was because she was afraid, she didn't actually invest her money, and that was a mistake. Someone says, can you start a small business with tax money? Absolutely, you can start a small business with almost no money. They're real good books. I actually have a reading list that I have for the students in the investing class. But one of the books on the reading list is called The $100 Startup. It's how you start up a business with $100. Andre Hatchett and Andre's Notary School. I think it's andresnotaryschool.com. He teaches people how to become mobile notaries for less than $500, where they literally get to the point where they're making $1,000 a week, as mobile notaries. So there's a myth that says that you need to have a lot of money to start a business. Now, somebody says, do you dislike white folk? If you say another comment like that, I'm gonna have to ban you, man, because it sounds like you might be a troll. Anyway, I hope that this was helpful information for everybody. And somebody says, can you provide me with an email? My email address, if anybody needs it, in case you want to do business with us, or you want me to come speak. Some people want me to come speak at their organization, whatever it is that you would like, whatever it is we can do for you. My email address is boyce@boycewatkins.com. That's boyce@boycewatkins.com. Consuela says, can we sign up anytime for the stock market class? Yes, you can. Just know the kickoff starts on January 2nd. So what we're going to do is a 6-week kickoff about every 3 months. And then each week, though, we'll just kind of keep learning and growing each week. And I'll give new lectures every week. But then also the price is going to change. The price is going to go up. Right now, the price is low, so we can open the door for people so they can get in and see what it's like. But eventually, new people will have to pay a different price. So, sign up now. The advantage of now is that you get the lower price. Okay. All right. So I'm going to go, guys. I hope you have an awesome Awesome New Year. It is New Year's Eve, so I guess I should go and do whatever. Somebody said earlier I need a vacation. Vacations are only necessary if you have a life that you need to get away from. If you want to avoid the need for a vacation, don't create a life that you feel like you got to get away from in order to be happy. I'm not happy when I'm away from my life. I love my life. I love what I do. If I don't like it, I don't do it. So, vacations are built for people that spend all their time at a corporation. I mean, think about it like this. If you spend 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week. Yeah, 50 hours a week of your life, either at work, coming home from work, going to work, getting ready for work. So if you do 50 hours a week, 50 to over 50 weeks a year, take a 2-week vacation. 50 weeks a year, that's 2,500 hours a year. Over a decade, that's 25,000 hours over the course of a decade. Over a 40-year work career from age 25 to 65, that's 100,000 hours. 100,000 hours of your life that you've dedicated to a corporation. 100,000 hours of your life that you've given to this faceless, nameless company that doesn't love you. And you're doing it because you need that money just to get by, just to survive, because nobody taught you how to start a business or anything like that. So you had to give away that much. Now, what is that? That's 100,000 hours is about 42% of your life. And if you add up all the hours you spend awake in your life, when you sleep, it doesn't matter. I'm talking about the hours you spend awake, and say 16 hours a day. 100,000 hours is literally 42% of your life that you're giving away to the corporation. The best part about being free, about starting your own thing and getting off the plantation, is that you gain it's like doubling your lifespan or adding 30 extra years to your life. It's like the difference between living to the age of 75 and living to 110. You literally have all this extra time suddenly to do all the things that matter. Life is not supposed to be lived that way. It wasn't until industrialization that you were trained to believe that you're supposed to spend 40 hours a week of your time at a corporation. That's new. People didn't do that 200 years ago. They would have thought that was insane, but you've been trained to do it. That's why America is the most productive country in the world. But in a lot of ways, we're very unhappy because we don't know another life. We're born as drones. We're born to believe that we're supposed to go give our lives to the corporation, which is just crazy. It's unhealthy. And so effectively what I found, this surprised me. I thought entrepreneurship was going to be a way to make some money, on my own terms, do what I love, all that. And I did all of that. The money was much better, but the best part was all the free time I suddenly had, where I could go to the movies on a Tuesday. I've had thousands of conversations with my relatives, with my children that I never would have had if I had been at work all day. My daughter came to see me. I was with my daughter all day long, every single day she was here for an entire week. I did not leave her side the entire time. I didn't have to say, well, sweetie, I got to go to work. I'll see you tonight at 8 o'clock. Right? I mean, that's literally a crater in your whole entire day. But that's what we have to do when we go to work every day. The best example I can think of is this. My friend, her mother just died of cancer. God rest her soul. And my friend knew that her mother was going to die for several months because they gave her the diagnosis. And one thing she said, Boyce, I've always heard what you were saying about getting off the corporate plantation, but I was always scared, because she lived out of fear. A lot of people are taught to live out of fear. They make a decision because they're afraid of bad things happening, when they don't realize that you're still destroying yourself by allowing the fear to control you. Fear is not a growth energy. It is a energy that compresses and destroys. It's a destructive energy. So when you carry fear all the time, you're really destroying yourself every step of the way. You're destroying your possibilities. You abort ideas before they are born. You are killing every possibility that could belong to you, because you're so caught up in the fear of what you see in front of you. So anyway, she said, Boyce, she said, now I understand what you're saying. She said, because it really bothers me that my mother is dying, and I can't go spend as much time with my mother as I want to because I got to go to work, and I thought about that, and I said, wow, because she has to go to work, her mother literally is about to leave this earth forever, and she can't spend time with her because she got to go to the stupid job. And, and I thought about that, and I said, you know what? I'm sorry. Forgive me for saying it, but, I'm the ultimate mama's boy. When my mama tells me, or my daddy, when one of my parents tells me, gives me the unfortunate news and says, the doctor says I only got 6 months to live. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go in my room. I'm going to pack all of my shit. I'm going to go to Louisville, Kentucky, and I'm going to sit by my parents' bedside every single step of the way. No, I'm not going to come back because you told me I only got 2 days of sick leave or whatever the hell you get on the job. No, I ain't doing all of that. I'm going to be right next to my parents until the very moment that they take their last breath, so we can say a proper goodbye. We can spend time together. We can kick our feet up, watch TV, talk about old times. I can thank them for the great parents that they were, and do what I'm supposed to do as a son. So I'll tell you, at the end of the day, that's why I think a life of freedom is what you aim for. It takes the same energy to learn how to be free as it takes to learn how to be a good slave. It takes the same energy to learn how to be free. It takes less energy, actually, to learn how to survive as a free person than it does to become a good slave. So it's up to you to make the decision. That's it. All right, so I'm about to head on out of here, guys. Don't forget, if you want to check out our programs, go to blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's blackfinancialliteracy.com. That's where the stock market class is and all that. If you want to check out the financial flashcards for children and adults, everybody loves them. They're really, really great. We invented them just for black people. Go to financialflashcards.com. That's financialflashcards.com. All right, I'm out of here, guys. Love you. And those who say that you like mentorship, things like that, feel free to join one of our programs. We meet once a week, and I mentor my students on a regular basis. So take care, guys. Love you. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.